Within Hunter x Hunter Succession Contest arc, there is one character that represents a terror that is being allowed to fester, and out of all the things seemingly snowballing on the Black Whale 1, poses the most direct threat to the citizens aboard the ship if allowed to continue at the pace it is. Said threat is a Nen prodigy with a twisted soul being handed a golden opportunity to not just hone the proficiency of his Nen, but also be able to test the strengths of his newfound abilities without resistance when the time comes. And the worst part is that the only person who stands a chance at stopping this threat before it becomes too late seems to be caught in a catch-22 where no matter what happens, no matter what they try to do, it's probably already too late. Within Hunter x Hunter's narrative following the Heaven's Arena arc, the idea of a secret second component to the Hunter's exam is introduced. Gon and Killua, despite bumping into someone who would teach them Nen through sheer chance alone, actually ended up finding somebody associated with the Hunters Association that would allow them to follow the second secret component of the Hunter's exam in a way that was unbeknownst to them. Within the world of Hunter x Hunter, the Hunters Association tries their best to keep the existence of Aura and Nen a secret, generally only facilitating the teaching of Nen to people that have already completed the Hunter's exam and proven themselves worthy in some form. Even though Nen can manifest without proper intentional teaching due to the fact that it responds to desire, generally, the act of consciously and intentionally teaching somebody how to utilize Nen goes through the Hunters Association and its secret second component of the Hunter's exam. In Chapter 360, Kurapika communicates over the emergency channel for the Black Whale 1 that multiple Nen beasts have been spotted. This is the start of a chain reaction that leads to people who didn't already know about Nen aboard the Black Whale 1 coming to learn about the existence of this power system for the first time, including a majority of the 14 Kakin princes who, on average, not only already don't know about Nen, but from the vows enforced by the seed urn of the succession contest, have been intentionally kept in the dark about their own guardian spirit beasts made with Nen. One of these princes is 4th Prince Tserriednich. One of Tserriednich's personal bodyguards, a woman named Theta, aware of the great potential for evil that Tserriednich has if he were to be taught Nen, gets forced into teaching the prince how to learn Nen anyways due to Kurapika's announcement to all the princes. She tries to tell him that it can take up to months for somebody to learn even the basics of Nen. Not only does he learn that under other people's estimates it should only take him 2 weeks, but he starts being able to see Aura and even tap into advanced utilizations of Aura like Gyo within days of starting. She tries to stifle his development by stopping him from doing the water divination test, which people new to learning Nen use as a way to discern what their natural Nen affinity is. But when he does the test anyways, it's revealed to both Theta and Tserriednich that he is a specialist, which throws any plans Theta has out the window for how she might stifle his growth going forward, due to the fact that Nen specialists functionally exist off of the affinity chart as normal Nen users understand it. So she tries to get Tserriednich to focus on learning Zetsu, due to somebody being in a state of Zetsu making them vulnerable not just to Nen attacks, but more vulnerable to standard attacks in general, while also allowing Theta an opportunity to get rid of Tserriednich's guardian spirit beast due to its lie detecting capabilities preventing her from being deceitful. With Tserriednich in a state of Zetsu, and his eyes closed trying to focus on maintaining that state, Theta then pulls out a gun and shoots Tserriednich in the head. Though, unbeknownst to her, Tserriednich had already manifested his own Nen ability, an ability first and foremost activated by Tserriednich going into a state of Zetsu. Despite the logic of Zetsu stating that abilities generally should not function due to one's aura nodes being closed off, Tserriednich, in his state of Zetsu, is able to see 10 seconds ahead into the future, and if he chooses, change something within those 10 seconds before they happen, leading to an entirely different chronological result than the one he initially foresaw. So we don't actually have an official name for this Nen ability yet. The first time we saw it used and the last time we saw it used, Tserriednich referred to it vaguely as the 10 ephemeral seconds and also as a prophetic dream. The most commonly accepted name I see used within the Hunter x Hunter community seems to be parallel future, and I think that's a pretty fitting name. So that's what I'm going to refer to the ability as going forward. Something I didn't mention before is that after 10 seconds have passed within Tserriednich's vision, time starts to resume, but he can still see forward a second in time. But a second also starts to pass in real time, except 10 seconds delayed from where his vision was before. It is honestly pretty conceptually complex and confusing, and I wouldn't blame anybody for not immediately understanding it, especially since we've only had one moment in which the ability has been used on screen to date. Also, Tserriednich has generated a Nen beast that is separate from the Guardian Spirit beast given to him by the Succession contest. The story has yet to explain what this is exactly, probably in part because Tserriednich himself doesn't know what it is and it just kind of unconsciously manifested. I would definitely be willing to bet money on the idea though that Tserriednich's Nen beast, separate from the Guardian Spirit beast he has, is somehow connected to the functions of parallel future. I think the general assumption is the fact we see this Nen beast behind Tserriednich and the fact his parallel future view isn't from his own eyes, but seemingly from a separate set of eyes or separate view kind of above and behind him, that it's less he seeing into the future himself and more his Nen beast has like a constant view of the future, and that gets relayed to Tserriednich. Whatever this Nen beast that Tserriednich has unconsciously manifested is, I really like its design. I do hope it's connected to parallel future in some form, and I would just really like to know what's going on with it sometime soon. While gathering research for this video, I actually realized that the last time we saw this Nen beast was on November 5th, 2018. It has been 6 years since Togashi has given us any sort of exposition about parallel future, and there are still things we don't know about it. I had hoped that we would get more parallel future information with the most recently released batch of Hunter x Hunter chapters in 2024. In chapter 404, released on October 28th, 2024, we learn that Tserriednich is now able to achieve a state of Zetsu in just under 3.5 seconds. And to my knowledge, that's it. Since getting our explanation for the ability vaguely in chapter 387, Togashi has yet to give us much more information on where Tserriednich is with his Nen training. Whatever comes next for Tserriednich after this probably isn't going to be good for everyone else, as in just 3 days of training, he's able to lower the time until he can enter a state of Zetsu down to 3.5 seconds with a goal of 1 second, presumably in the near future. Parallel Future is an incredibly interesting Nen ability from the standpoint of Nen abilities we've seen naturally develop as time goes on. The closest ability I can think of is Neon Nestrad's fortune-telling ability that we see in the York New City arc. But with that ability, Neon Nestrad was not aware of Nen whatsoever. While both Tserriednich's Parallel Future and Neon Nestrad's fortune-telling are examples of specialists unconsciously manifesting Nen abilities based off of some strong form of desire, Tserriednich really stands out in my eyes because as a Nen prodigy, despite getting what is ostensibly a really gimped version of the standard education for Nen, he is making do with what he has and skipping steps within his own framework because he believes so strongly in the idea that he can do so. It's sort of like the Nen equivalent of fake it till you make it, but Tserriednich isn't faking it at all. In some way, in some form, he is probably the most passively proficient person with Nen that we will ever see. And not only is he skipping steps along the path of Nen while people are trying to sabotage his Nen education, but he is just straight up doing things we've never seen in the series beforehand. Like unconsciously summoning a Nen beast as part of his ability without even knowing it's there, how to do that, or if that's even a thing he can do. I'm also fairly sure, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on this, that Tserriednich's ability is the first example of a Nen ability we've seen that requires going into a state of Zetsu as a means of activation, let alone being part of, I think, a very, very, very small list of people who we've seen go into a state of Zetsu and have their Nen ability still be around in some form. There are many snowballing things that threaten to cause unease on the Black Whale 1 in the Succession Contest arc, like Morena Prudo's Contagion ability, which almost seems specially crafted to spread chaos in Nen form. I guess the thing is with something like Contagion though, all of these characters that probably shouldn't have access to Nen in the first place already do, and they have the means to learn how to level up their Nen proficiency, if already being in a position where they know how to use their Nen in ways to sow chaos. Tserriednich, meanwhile, despite being in a position where he's still learning and where others are actively sabotaging his efforts, he is still very much already past the point of concern and getting rapidly closer to the point of no return. His kind of slow build snowball terror specifically comes from the fact that we've known pretty much from the start that he's not the kind of person who should have access to Nen, and every step along the way, we've seen the system that should have prevented him from getting access to this fail and only put the information further into his hands that he needs to achieve some far-off goal that probably isn't good for anyone other than him. While Contagion as a snowball threat in the Succession Contest arc is still something that's unfolding and building up as time goes on, the way that started was something that happened before the narrative began. And it's also something that's been presented to us pretty clearly in intention, whereas Tserriednich is a wild card. We have frankly no idea specifically what he's gonna do or why he's chasing after this knowledge of Nen, other than the fact that he wants to and because he's good at it. And it really makes me wonder what his end game is, specifically when he hits 1 second to activate a state of Zetsu. Like, what is his end goal with Parallel Future as it's currently developed? That lack of information we have, despite the fact that we know things are going wrong right now and that we know they're going to go badly down the line, is frankly pretty terrifying. It's like witnessing a car crash unfold in real time and knowing that there are going to be casualties, but not knowing just how many people are going to die, which I think is the perfect kind of unease for a Nen ability being developed by a character like Tserriednich to give to us in an arc as complex as the Succession Contest, where at any time Togashi can spend 10, 20, 30 chapters away from a specific crucial concept, focusing on other things, allowing that crucial concept to slow burn in the background until it's ready to be brought back into focus. Essentially, with Tserriednich's attitude as a character and Parallel Future as a Nen ability, Togashi has gone out of his way to point out the existence of a gun in the story. It has been 23 chapters and 6 years since we've last seen that gun, and I'm wondering, when is it going to show up again? When is it going to be fired? And who is going to be caught in the path of the bullet?